Let's put these CSS layout rules into action. You can download the page using the link below or on Moodle and follow along if you'd like. And feel free to pause as much as you need to. First, let's take a look at this page. We have 4 main box elements: a header, a section, a div with an ID of sidebar, and a footer. What we don't have yet is a wrapper or container to hold all of those boxes. So let's add one. How would we do that? Right, we start the div just after the body tag, give it an ID of wrapper, and end the div right before the body tag ends. We literally are surrounding all 4 of the box elements with this div tag. Now, let's give it a width of 1000 pixels in a CSS rule. 1000 pixels is a good standard number for the size of a website. I'm going to use an embedded style sheet so we can see everything on the same page, but if you wanted to create an external style sheet, how would you do it? Okay, so now we've set the terms for the overall width of our website. We used hashtag wrapper because we're applying it to a div with an ID of wrapper. You'll notice I didn't set a height, and that's because the other content will automatically stretch the wrapper to the height you want. There's no reason to set it specifically if you don't have to, and that's a good general rule if you do fixed width layouts. Let's work with the header first. I'm going to create a new CSS rule where the height for the header is 100 pixels. In this case, I want the height to be exact. I'm also going to set the width to inherit. That means the child element will inherit the width from its parent, and in this case, that's the wrapper. So far, so good. Now let's give some structure to the section and the sidebar div. Let's give the section a width of 750 pixels and not add any height, and give the sidebar a width of 250 pixels. Preview and, that doesn't look like much. How can I put both boxes on the same line? That's right, by using the float property. Let's go back to the CSS and add a float left to the section and a float right to the sidebar. Test it out and looking better. But the footer is nosing its way up into the sidebar's territory. I have 2 options to fix that. Can you guess one? Kudos if you said the clear property to clear the footer on out. You could also assign specific heights to both the section and the sidebar if you wanted to, but let's add the clear property. Great, we're getting there. Now let's talk a bit about margin and padding. Remember that margin is the space outside of a box and padding is the space inside of a box. You can set the margin and padding in pixels. So let's add 10 pixels of padding inside the sidebar. Preview and what happened? The layout broke. Can you guess why that happened? If you said because the padding plus the width of the boxes added up to more than the set width of the wrapper, which is 1000 pixels, then you're becoming a CSS expert. If I add 10 pixels of padding on the left and 10 pixels of padding on the right, I've actually added 20 extra pixels to the entire width of the layout. So I can subtract 20 pixels from the width property and get the same general idea. The same is true for margins and even for borders. So what if I wrote a rule now where there's a 20 pixel margin on the right of the section? What do you think will happen? Exactly, it's going to break the layout too. So how can I fix it? Right again, if I subtract 20 pixels from the width of the section. Finally, there's a useful property to know about wrappers and containers. If you add an auto margin, AUTO, to the left and right of the wrapper div, it will actually float that whole wrapper, so float pretty much everything you see in your layout in the middle. You see this a lot online, and that's how you do it.